Greetings, today is Monday, August 12, 2024. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. At the time of recording this video, it is 6 a.m. local time in the northeastern Caribbean, where several tropical storm watches have been issued for the northern Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and more recently, at 5 a.m., a tropical storm watch was issued for Puerto Rico. Overnight, there have been some changes in the projections and the forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Now, it is projected that the future Tropical Storm Ernesto will be tracking slightly more to the west, passing very close to or over Puerto Rico during the night on Tuesday and early Wednesday morning. Additionally, the National Hurricane Center has confirmed that there is a possibility that the circulation center has relocated further to the west. However, they are waiting to see visible satellite images once the sun rises in this area. And if this is confirmed, we will probably see a westward adjustment in the track, potentially over Puerto Rico, and once again threatening the eastern part of the Dominican Republic. Remember that yesterday I mentioned there were two areas of maximum vorticity competing to see where the circulation center would consolidate. If the center consolidates further to the west, this increases the risk for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, while if it consolidated more to the northeast, it would likely have a trajectory just to the northeast of Puerto Rico. This morning, everything seems to indicate that the western zone is dominating, which increases the risk for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, as well as for residents of the Virgin Islands and the northern Lesser Antilles. Regardless of the trajectory of this potential tropical cyclone, tropical storm conditions are expected to affect the region from early Tuesday morning through Wednesday. Therefore, it is important that residents from Dominica and Martinique to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico prepare for the effects of a tropical storm. Moreover, analyzing the infrared satellite image, we can see that potential tropical cyclone 5 is generating strong convection areas, which was anticipated as it begins to move over areas with quite warm sea surface temperatures. I expect that within the next 24 hours, we will have tropical depression number 5, and before reaching the Lesser Antilles, it will become Tropical Storm Ernesto. On the other hand, the good news is that the system remains quite weak, thanks to its fast westward movement, which hinders its strengthening. So at least the good news is that now it is projected to pass through the northeastern Caribbean as a weak or moderate tropical storm. And while the wind does not seem to be a major problem, except for potential issues with the power grid, our main concern is the anticipated total rainfall over the next 4 days, which could cause flooding and landslides across the northeastern Caribbean. Let's take a look at the latest projections from the specialized trajectory models. In general, they all continue to project a westward movement over the next 24 hours. By early Tuesday, it should be moving over the arc of the Lesser Antilles, most likely between Dominica and Guadeloupe. Then, the high pressure in the Atlantic will begin to weaken, favoring a more west-northwest trajectory. The consensus is that it would pass just northeast of Puerto Rico, over the Virgin Islands. However, remember that if it is confirmed that the circulation center is located further west, this means the system may travel further west before the high pressure weakens, and we may see a westward trajectory adjustment over Puerto Rico. However, this information is not yet official, and we will have to wait for the 8 a.m. or 11 a.m. bulletin, as a hurricane hunter plane will be investigating the area, providing better data to forecast its future trajectory and intensity. Given how disorganized this potential tropical cyclone remains, intensity models now project that it will pass near or over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands as a moderate tropical storm, with maximum sustained winds between 50 and 60 miles per hour. So, this morning and for the time being, we are ruling out the possibility of it crossing the area as a hurricane. In the official bulletin from the National Hurricane Center, it is projected that in the early hours of Wednesday morning, the circulation center will move over the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico. Therefore, a tropical storm watch has been issued, which will likely be upgraded to a tropical storm warning for the Lesser Antilles later today. Reviewing the tropical storm watches that remain in effect, we have a tropical storm watch for Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Barthélemy, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, and the island of Guadeloupe. This watch will likely be extended to include the island of Dominica. Now let's look at the latest projections from the global models. But before we do, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any videos I'll be recording during this special coverage. Go to the bottom of the video, click the red button that says subscribe, and then click the bell so you'll get notifications when I post new videos. First, let's look at the American model, the GFS. Since yesterday, it has projected a trajectory over Caribbean waters, passing over Puerto Rico or eastern Dominican Republic. In the latest run that just came out a few minutes ago, the system is tracking much further west and south than previously projected due to the western vorticity zone dominating instead of the eastern and northeastern zone. Because of this, the GFS model now projects that it will pass as a tropical storm just south or over Puerto Rico and over eastern Dominican Republic in the early hours of Wednesday morning. before continuing on a northward trajectory, approaching the island of Bermuda. Additionally, it is important to note that in the latest runs, the GFS model has been quite consistent in showing this system moving further west. And based on what we're seeing in the infrared satellite images and data from a buoy located in the area, it seems that the GFS model is correct in its projection. However, we will wait for the official bulletin from the National Hurricane Center at 8 o'clock or 11 a.m. On the other hand, the European model continues to project that it will pass over the Virgin Islands early Wednesday morning as a weak or moderate tropical storm. So, for now, the National Hurricane Center's forecast is closely following the European model's projection. But again, keep an eye on potential shifts further west. The German model also agrees with the GFS model, projecting a tropical storm passing through the Mona Passage early Wednesday morning. The UK model also has a tropical storm crossing over Puerto Rico during the night on Tuesday and early Wednesday morning. I believe we are seeing a clear trend of bringing this system closer to Puerto Rico, which is why I ask that you begin preparations to face a tropical storm. In general, the ensemble members of the GFS model also show that the risk has increased for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, although there are still some scenarios ranging from a trajectory similar to the one marked by the National Hurricane Center, to a more westward trajectory, potentially reaching the eastern Dominican Republic. However, the European model members consistently maintain a trajectory very similar to the National Hurricane Center's, but it will be crucial to see where the center relocates, as these trajectories may be adjusted further west. Let's talk a bit about the anticipated effects on the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Regardless of whether it passes just northeast of Puerto Rico or over or very close to the island, you can see that tropical storm force winds, represented in orange in this animation, are projected to affect the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and possibly eastern Dominican Republic, with winds between 50 and 60 miles per hour. While these winds are not very strong and should not cause major problems for structures, they could definitely represent a risk of power outages in Puerto Rico due to trees potentially damaging the electrical system. So please prepare for possible outages. In terms of rainfall, models project between 3 to 10 inches of rain that could affect some areas between the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. However, the maximum rainfall amounts will depend on where the circulation center passes. So, it is important that we prepare for a significant rain event that could cause flash flooding. In millimeters, we are talking between 100 to 250 millimeters of rainfall accumulation, which is enough to cause flooding and landslides in the mountainous regions of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Well, that's all I have for this forecast update. Stay tuned to Hurricane Info, as I will continue to post content to keep you informed, especially after the Hurricane Hunter plane arrives and we have a better idea of where the circulation center has relocated. Before I go, I wanted to remind you that you can become a member of my channel by clicking the blue button at the bottom of the video, where you will have the opportunity to support my project with a small monthly contribution and receive some additional benefits. Now, I'll say goodbye, and I hope everyone in the northeastern Caribbean is preparing for the effects of future Tropical Storm Ernesto.